Here where the River Great Ouse spills into the Cambridgeshire Fens, a reed bed is taking shape. Hanson and the RSPB are transforming a former sand and gravel quarry into the Ouse Fenn Nature Reserve. And when Ouse Fenn is complete, it'll be the country's biggest reed bed.
Well, if you came here in the late 1990s, you would have found a large intensive area, farmed intensively for lots of crops, a massive area over 700 hectares, which has now been transformed through the extraction of sand and gravel, about 2 metres, 3 metres depth, and the overburdens on top, which is about over a metre, have been placed back in the landforms to make a very intricate habitat. So that transformation from a large area of intensive farming has been done in a phased way through the extraction of gravel and the direct placement of overburdens as we progressively restore the wetlands. So we're seeing a phase that is restored, and we are advancing with the extraction as well. I'm very proud to be involved. Been involved for over 30 years on the site now, from the very start, the very first gravel pits we had at Barleycroft. And it's great to see the progression through that extraction and restoration as we gradually create the habitats as we work round, you know, within the constraints of designing with the overburdens available, and to the brief of the RSPB, the designs I have to come up with in detail have to satisfy them and our operational people who dig the gravel as well. So it's quite a complex balance to strike. I think the favourite bit is that the detail, really, the detail you'll see in the intricacy of the water areas and how that magical edge habitat between water and land is very long compared to the area. So if you measured the linear edge of water, it's absolutely massive and creates that special habitat for the wildlife of this type of reed bed area. And it's not just about reed beds, it's there's other habitats within, to a small scale, ponds and rough grassland around as well, but the reed bed is obviously the major feature to attract certain species of birds.
When the quarry is restored, there's so many opportunities to create habitats that provide opportunities for all stages of a bumblebee's life cycle. So for example, here we've got loads of flower-rich habitat, partly through kind of natural regeneration, allowing what wants to come through, and they've also done a lot of reseeding work as well, planting wildflower seeds, so that provides the forage that bumblebee queens and workers need for their colony. And then all the landforms and the topography, all the humps and bumps and slopes provide really excellent opportunities for bumblebee nesting and also hibernation, where they can burrow into the ground to find somewhere safe and secure for the winter months. So of the 24 bumblebee species that we have in the UK now, around a third of those are of conservation concern. And so the work that the quarrying industry can do before quarrying takes place and while quarrying takes place and during the restoration phase can help to create a huge mosaic of different habitat types, which can then help to support bumblebees in our landscape. Lots of flower-rich habitat to help support those. Yeah. Bumblebee Conservation Trust have been really proud to be supporting the work of the MPA since 2012, which is quite early on in the formation of the trust, so we've been involved for a long time. And we've been really happy to support the work that's been going on across the quarrying industry, restoring and creating amazing habitats for our bumblebees. So we're really keen to continue that support and hope that the work continues long into the future.
I think it's realising that a lot of these nature reserves that you may have in your local area used to be a quarry. You'd never know that, but if you dig deeper, you understand what the land use was and how they've restored it and they're managing it for wildlife. It's amazing, really, that you'd never ever know in a lot of these cases that it's a quarry at all. The pride and passion of the member companies, whether it be the quarry manager, the restoration manager, the landscape architects, the ecologists, it's so impressive. Everybody you deal with is committed to what they're doing. They have great expertise, great experience, and they're delivering fantastic stuff all the time. I'm most proud of delivering something I believe in, actually. Nature conservation is my passion. It's where I started my career, it's what I did my degree in ecology, and to be given the opportunity to work in this now is fantastic.
So the partnership between the RSPB and the minerals industry is incredibly important for wildlife. The quarrying sector is one of the few areas where habitats are being created. Elsewhere, nature is in trouble, and so there's a real opportunity to do something really quite significant for lots of species, lots of habitats, but also, very importantly, I think, for people as well, providing them with recreational space surrounded by nature. I think it's one of the very few industries that have made really, really strong efforts to create something out of what they've exploited the land, and then they're committed to putting stuff back that has a value, that is kind of beneficial, as I say, not just to wildlife but to people as well. And nowadays, with things like climate change and so on, some of these habitats are able to offset some of those impacts to some extent. It's not the full solution, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think by planning and working with other stakeholders, the RSPB, other wildlife organisations, communities, the planning authorities, we can plan and create better spaces for nature, better spaces for surviving the sort of future environment as well.
So restored quarries are incredibly important for bird life, because what they do is they give us a kind of blank canvas to create new habitat. So if you think about something like reed beds, for example, we're losing a lot of our reed beds at the moment because of changes to intertidal habitat around the coast, rising sea levels, encroachment from development. And so it's fantastic to be able to create new reed beds, and here would be an example of that, and to do that for birds like bitterns, for example, which really need that habitat. And then they're also great for kind of what I would call dynamic new habitat. So things like scrub, for example, coming up. So nightingales love scrub, and we're able to create that in a quarry setting as well. So they're fantastic in giving us that sort of that canvas to play with, if you like, to really create the best possible habitat for some of these bird species which are really struggling elsewhere. Well, biodiversity around the world is in decline. So we've got 1 million species at risk of extinction around the world. We've got 41% of species in the UK declining at the moment. So creating the right kind of biodiversity habitat at scale is a really vital part of answering that problem. So what quarries enable us to do is create things at scale, so create enough of the habitat to really allow a species that likes that habitat to thrive, but also to be part of a joined up network of habitat in the wider landscape, so that species can be more resilient to the kind of changes that are coming through climate change, for example. They need the space to be able to really survive that. So this is a great opportunity, basically. A quarry is an opportunity just to expand that scale, and also to create exactly the right conditions. Birds, like every other species, need shelter, they need food, they need water, and they need enough of that to be able to really thrive. So I think partnership is key, and one of the things I love about quarry restoration, it's nature organisations, it's planning authorities, it's quarrying organisations, and local communities all working together to create these new habitats. And partnership is going to be key, because what we're all facing into is a twin crisis, basically, the crisis in climate and the crisis for nature as well. And we know that we can tackle both of those together, but we need to do it in the right way. So, if we want a more nature positive world, and we all do, believe me, otherwise everything that we depend upon vanishes. And if we want to be able to hit that trajectory to net zero, then we've all got to play our part. And we've often got to do that in partnership in order to achieve the scale of change that we need to achieve.
Well done. Keep going. Keep working with us, and there's something really brilliant that's going to come from this.